Hey guys, this is Joe D with the Roundhouse Report. This video has to deal with the uncomfortable truths of two Israeli doctrines in military parlance that most people aren't aware of. I've been studying this crap for over 20 years. I've been studying the Middle East and Israel's past wars and all that crap. All right, so they have two doctrines that are kind of like they're dark little secrets, like the kind of stuff that you were like, yeah, we're not going to really tell you a whole bunch, but you have to really go out of your way. The Hannibal Doctrine and the Dahaya Doctrine. Those are the two. Those are two very, very controversial policies that the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, have. And the Dahaya Doctrine, Dahya, the Dahaya Doctrine, quote, a military strategy involving the destruction of civilian infrastructure in order to pressure a hostile regime. Again, a military strategy involving the destruction of civilian infrastructure in order to pressure a hostile regime. This was seen in 2006 when Israel invaded southern Lebanon in order to combat Hezbollah. The Israelis did not do a good job in their performance. They didn't have enough. They were totally flat-footed. I've read so many reports of Israelis who were fighting in southern Lebanon, fighting against Hezbollah, and they'd have to take the canteens off dead Hezbollah soldiers so they would have enough water. They would have to take the guns from dead Hezbollah soldiers and their ammo so that they would have enough ammo. Like, they were really caught flat-footed. And so they did not perform well in 2006. Yeah, I don't even know if you can call it a win. Yeah, they killed more Hezbollah than IDF was killed, but still, Hezbollah is alive and well, and they're still there. So in 2006, when the Litani River is UN Resolution 1701, adopted by the UN Security Council, calls for Hezbollah to be north of the Litani River that runs kind of in the middle of Lebanon. Then that's a buffer zone. I think it was like 5 miles. So if this is Israel, up here like 30 miles is the Litani River, and according to 1701, the UN resolution, which nobody is enforcing, barely anyone's talking about it, is Hezbollah here. You see Israel, the Litani River, this is supposed to be a demilitarized zone, but it's not. Hezbollah is operating freely in that demilitarized zone. Now, the goal of 1701 is, here's the Litani River, here's southern Lebanon. Hezbollah is supposed to be back behind the Litani River, which gives Israel a nice 5 to 15 mile buffer. Again, they didn't follow that. But in the 2006 war, once it became clear that Israel wasn't really prepared for what they were up against, because Hezbollah is a battle-hardened force, they have 50,000 active personnel, which means 50,000 people in uniform, ready to go at any time. And they have about another 50,000 reserves. Now, it's important to note that Hezbollah, excuse me, as I just said, 50 to 100,000 troops. And by the way, they're battle tested. They fought in the Syrian civil war. They fought against ISIS. They were actually freaked out by ISIS. Hezbollah was like freaked out because ISIS would do these daring, insane like raids in like the night. And they're like the Hezbollah was like, oh my God, what's going on here? But the main thing that disturbed Hezbollah against ISIS is that ISIS would burn the bodies of their dead where they laid on the battlefield. So if there's 10 bodies across a 50-yard front line, they would come out and they'd burn the bodies, and then they would go back into their trenches. And Hezbollah found that to be very disturbing. It really was off-putting to them, and the aggressive tactics of ISIS was very off-putting to them. But regardless, they fought ISIS. They fought for years. I mean, the civil war in Syria started in 2011. And they fought for years and years and years. They have a lot of combat experience. These people are not green. They know how to fight. They have been fighting, and they're still fighting in Syria. These guys have combat experience. They are armed, trained, funded by Iran, obviously. Hezbollah is considered to be the crown jewel of Iranian proxies just because of their huge manpower and all the weapons and funding that Iran has sent to them. I mean, Hezbollah is said to have between 150 and 150 to 250,000 rockets, many of which are precision, and most of which can hit anywhere inside of Israel. I'm getting off my point. I'm trying to keep my videos more clips so I don't repeat myself 50 times. All right? Listen, I could really use advice in the comments section as to how I can do better making these videos, because I'm practicing. I want to become a college professor. So I have fun doing this, and I'm practicing. So again, I'm going to read it once more. And this is directly tied to 2006, the Hezbollah-Israeli war. The Dahaya Doctrine is a military strategy involving the destruction of civilian infrastructure in order to pressure a hostile regime. In 2006, that, quote, hostile regime was Hezbollah. It's important to note that Hezbollah has a political wing where they literally, like, if your house gets hit by an Israeli strike, they'll pay you money in order to, like, get a new house. They'll set up tables, and you come up and you show proof, and Hezbollah will be like, all right, here you go. Here's the money to replace that. And that's the political wing. And they also provide a lot of civil services and infrastructure services to the Lebanese people, namely southern Lebanon. So that's a little background on them. They're not just an army, they're a political force as well, a strong one. So the Dahaya Doctrine in 2006, once it became clear that Israel and Hezbollah was kind of grinding to a halt and it was turning into kind of a stalemate, but Hezbollah wasn't done fighting. They wanted to keep going and going and going and going. So Israel enacted the Dahaya Doctrine. And the Dahaya Doctrine means that, now keep in mind, in Lebanon, especially in southern Lebanon, and from outside countries like Qatar, Turkey, these different countries around the Middle East, I lost my train of thought. I'm just going to keep going. The Dahaya Doctrine, many of the rich, the affluent in Lebanon, in Syria, in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, places that actually support Hezbollah directly. The main one is Iran. It's really Iran. Iran is a proxy of, Hezbollah is a proxy of Iran. They're a standing army with lots of weapons, sophisticated weapons. They're no longer shooting Katyushkas. They're shooting precision weapons now. And so the fight ground on, and Israel was like, screw this. We're going to enact the Dahaya Doctrine, because Hezbollah relies on not just Iran, mainly Iran, but they also, since they are a political party that indeed does work in the community, they do give people food. They do give people housing privileges if their house gets bombed. They do give out money. And that's why the Lebanese people in the South really like them, because they are a legitimate political party and they will try to make things right with the money that they get from Iran. So, with that said, you have a lot of sponsors for Hezbollah inside of Lebanon. The rich people inside Lebanon, the ones who live in a 20-story condominium tower that's just, it's like $1 million, and you have these huge apartment blocks that are upscale apartment blocks. You have these high-scale condominiums. I mean, we're talking 20 stories high, maybe even higher, and these people spend millions of dollars to buy one of these units. All right. So, and these are the same people, since they are rich and since they do sympathize with Hezbollah, they're the ones that give a lot of money to Hezbollah. Nothing like Iran, but they donate to Hezbollah and they can put political pressure on Hezbollah. In 2006, Israel said, screw it, we're enacting the Dahaya Doctrine, and they immediately started destroying the civilian infrastructure in the upscale areas of southern Lebanon, but mainly southern Beirut and eastern Beirut in Lebanon. They started dropping these high-rise, fancy penthouse buildings. They started dropping them. And there were no military inside those buildings. It was civilians. The reason that they dropped them is because they wanted those rich people who support politically, financially, ideologically, they support Hezbollah. If you have these people getting their own houses destroyed, they're going to be like, dude, Hezbollah, stop it, or we're going to stop giving you money. My $2 million condominium just got destroyed. I can't afford another one. You guys need to stop this. Stop it. And that puts a lot of pressure on Hezbollah, as it did in 2006, and Hezbollah caved. They were like, all right, we can do some kind of a withdrawal, some kind of a treaty, etc. And that's where the 1701, well, actually the 1701 UN doctrine, I think, was prior to 2006, but it may have been actually spurred by 2006. So the Dahaya doctrine is you intentionally destroy high value, but very expensive apartment buildings, luxury suites, penthouses that have nothing to do with it. They're just in Beirut, but they do support Hezbollah. So they just started dropping those buildings left and right. And these guys were like, dude, we're the rich ones. We give you guys money. We give you guys our ideological allegiance. You need to stop the war because my house just got destroyed. And I'm a millionaire. I'm a billionaire. You better stop the war or I'm not going to send any more money. So that is the basis of the Dahaya doctrine, is to make the higher class civilians in a combat zone so upset and so frustrated and left in disarray that they come to Hezbollah and they're like, you need to stop this war. We're going to stop helping you. So that is the Dahaya doctrine. That's the first dark, people say that Israelis bomb civilians on purpose. Well, in the case of the Dahaya doctrine, they'll send out leaflets. They'll send out little They'll send out little thud bombs to knock the top of a building and shake it so people get out of it. So they're not trying to kill the residents. They get the residents out and they just destroy their $1 million condominiums, houses, whatever you want to call them. So that's the Dahaya doctrine. It's kind of a dark kind of thing that matches up with when anti-Israelis are like, yeah, they bomb civilians intentionally. No, they do bomb. They get the civilians out and then they bomb their homes. And again, that puts pressure on Hezbollah, and Hezbollah has to bend to that pressure because that is the country in which they're in southern Lebanon, which they de facto, they control southern Lebanon, if not all of it. And so that's the Dahaya doctrine. I'm already at 12 minutes. I'm going to try to squeeze this in real quick. The next doctrine that most people are not aware of is the Hannibal doctrine. The Hannibal doctrine, Hannibal Barca is the one who fought against Rome in one of the Punic Wars. He is the one who marched from Spain with a huge army across Europe, and they actually crossed the Alps. He had 18 elephants. They all died. He had some elephants because he was from North Africa. It was Carthage versus Rome. And Hannibal Barca, he ultimately had to go home. He was fighting a successful campaign against the Romans, but then all of a sudden the Romans had to flee off of Carthage. He had to go home and fight. When it was all said and done, his military career was messed up because he was a brilliant commander, but when it came down to it, he was on the run. Kind of like bin Laden after 9/11, he was on the run. Hannibal knew exactly what the Romans would do if they caught him. They would parade him through the streets of Rome. They would torture him. They might cut the dude's head off right in front of everyone. So Hannibal went into hiding in Turkey, modern day Turkey. And the Romans were not joking. They're like us going after, it may have taken 10 years, but we went after and we ultimately killed bin Laden. Okay. So in the same manner, Hannibal went into hiding. He spent some time as a mercenary general after the whole Carthage and Punic Wars affair, but he became a mercenary general. But then the Romans started to capture territory toward Anatolia, which was back then, that was Turkey, modern day Turkey. And they hunted him down, and they were literally outside of his window because they knew where he was. And Barca killed himself. I don't know I think he swallowed poison. Hannibal killed himself because he knew that if he was captured by the Romans, because of all the damage that his armies inflicted on the Italian peninsula while he was active there during the Punic Wars, he knows Rome. He was like, if I get caught, they're going to torture me. They're going to make a mockery of me. They're going to parade me through Rome. They're going to rip off my fingernails. They're going to beat me. They're going to scourge me. And ultimately, they may disembowel me. He knew what happened to Rome's enemies. So he killed himself before the Romans could get him. Okay? It's actually the directive. The Hannibal directive. According to the directive, Once it has been declared by field officers, Israeli forces were to open fire on enemy forces carrying away an IDF, Israeli Defense Forces personnel. I forget, I'm going to read it again. The Hannibal Directive. According to the directive, once it has been declared by a field officer, meaning a top field officer on the ground, and one of his troops just got taken into a tunnel and they escaped back into Gaza. And this was years ago. So according to that field officer, Israeli forces were to open fire on enemy forces carrying away an IDF prisoner. This is the same exact thing as Hannibal. Hannibal knew he would be tortured. He knew that it would be awful. He knew he would ultimately die. So in Israel, I mean, one time they got the remains. They have so many conflicts with everyone that it's so hard for me to keep track of all of them. And there was a 2011 with Hamas, 2014 with Hamas, 2021 with Hamas, 2006 with Hezbollah. I mean, they're all over the place, but they need to be because they live in a bad neighborhood. So the Hannibal Doctrine basically I saw this put in implementation. I think it was in 21. They were clearing out. They were opening up tunnel shafts that led from Gaza into Israel, and once these tunnels were opened up, Hamas would sneak into the tunnels, and then if there was like an Israeli, and this actually happened, there was an Israeli standing there near the entrance of the tunnel. They grabbed him and they just pulled him back into the Gaza Strip. And immediately the Hannibal Directive was employed, which means if an IDF soldier, and again, there was one case in which the remains of an IDF soldier, he was dead, the remains, his bones, his dust, that was given back to, because Israel is just like the United States, no man left behind. So they actually released hundreds, if not thousands, of Palestinian prisoners just to get the dead body back of an IDF captive. So the whole point is the Hannibal Directive, if this dude gets captured, he's going to be tortured, he's going to go through misery, and he'll ultimately die. So what happened was, let me see what I can get some going here on my little maps. So this guy was snatched out of a tunnel. This is the different definitions. Okay, so this guy was snatched through a tunnel. This is Israel. This is Gaza. There was an Israeli soldier right near the tunnel entrance. Some Hamas soldiers grabbed him. They took the opportunity and they dragged him through the tunnels back into Gaza. Immediately, the field commander on station said, one of my soldiers just got taken. He was kidnapped into Gaza, and they activate the Hannibal Directive, which means that all available firepower within the Israeli on-the-spot capability, whether it's jets, tanks, artillery, drones, whatever, everything will be directed against that soldier's position. And it's meant to kill the IDF soldier. In 2021, like I said, they took an IDF soldier and they instituted the Hannibal Directive, and they knew the area. Obviously, the Israelis, once you get out of the tunnel and you're in Gaza, all right. But the Hannibal Directive is so fast, you don't let them get that far. As soon as they're gone, you call in all the fire support you can, and you just excuse my language, you just bomb it. You just level everything. So in 21, when this dude was taken, yeah, he was taken and he was being dragged through Gaza and then all of a sudden the Israelis just dropped everything they had on them, whether it was missiles, bombs, rockets, everything, tanks, artillery. And they saturated the entire area. Like they knew he was here somewhere, so they saturate this entire area. They just drop just everything they have on it. And the intention is to kill the IDF soldier so that he doesn't have to be tortured. Just to show you the intensity of this, in 21, when this happened, and they instituted the Hannibal Directive, in one massive, everything on target in order to make sure this IDF guy was dead so he wouldn't be tortured, a total of 217 Gazans were killed in one massive strike from multiple directions with multiple types of munitions. So 217 civilians were killed in one drop, and I think that's pretty significant. And in the process, they killed their soldier who would have been tortured, kept captive, and etc. They ultimately got his remains back, but not they had to release a bunch of Hamas terrorists, some of which are now leading the war in Gaza against Israel. So those are the two doctrines: the Hannibal Directive, which is like we're just going to kill the soldier because we don't want him to be tortured, and then the Dahaya Doctrine, which is like, look, if this regime, the Hezbollah, if they won't back up, if we keep grinding, and we're not really making much progress, we're going to send jets into Beirut, and we're going to start dropping high-rise luxury condominiums, apartments, etc. Those people get on board. They're like, no, Hamas, you need to stop because my shit just got destroyed. So those are the two doctrines that most people are not aware of, and these are kind of dirty little secrets that Israel does. Little dirty little secrets, but they work because you're fighting an enemy who only listens to violence. Hence, no ceasefire from Hamas for the last 4, 5, 6 months. Everything that Israel's put on the table that's been accommodating, they've said, nope, we're switching back to our initial stance. Total withdrawal, total ceasefire, no mention of hostages. So it's all BS. But I think I explained the two doctrines well. If you have any questions, let me comment. I'll try to respond. And again, I'm trying to get better at making my videos. So if you notice something that I could do better on, let me know. All right, so the Hannibal Doctrine and the Dahaya Doctrine, especially given that Israel's in an open war on multiple fronts, those doctrines have to be understood to a certain degree. So I hope I did a proper job illuminating that. If I didn't, just put comments and ask me, and I'll try to respond. And so that's Israel. Those are two policies that the Israeli military has that most people aren't aware of. And if they are aware in any way, sense, or form, like I've heard of the Hannibal Directive, but they don't know what it means. So the Hannibal Directive, the Dahaya Doctrine, these are two things you can look up on Wikipedia. You can look them up anywhere. Really, at War College, you can look them up anywhere, and it'll show you the ins and outs of these different doctrines. But I pretty much told you everything there is to know about them, just on a surface level. And I hope you learned something. Put a smiley face in the comments. This is what 22 minutes long. I don't think I repeated myself too much. I know that's a problem I have in my videos, is I repeat myself a lot. I repeat myself a lot. I'm just joking. So I'm trying to get better at it, and just tell me if this made sense. That's really what I need to know. Did this video make sense? Did this illuminate you as to what these doctrines are and how they are employed? And I would like to know if I did a good job trying to explain something relatively complicated in easy terms. So a smiley face shows me you watched me all the way through, and that makes me feel good. Someone actually spent the time to watch the whole freaking video. That makes me feel good. So drop a smiley face in there and put a comment in. What about this? What about that? What about this? And I'll try my best to answer it. All right, this is Joe D with the Roundhouse Report. I gave you a lot of information here, 23 minutes, one of my longest videos. And I hope you guys learned something. And again, comment. I'm trying to get better at doing this stuff. So if you have any recommendations about, I know I don't have a professional setup, but I'm working on getting a professional setup. But until then, it's just me and the phone and the ceiling. So I am working on getting a professional setup, but I would like to know, too many too many that, too many repetitions of the same point. So just let me know. Let me know what you thought of the video. And really, I just want to know if you learned. Was I able to take these topics and break them down so that people could learn who may not have any idea of military tactics, doctrine, etc.? So please let me know, Bob. Please let me know, Snap City. Please let me know, Philip Hudson, followers of mine, Colleen Baxter. I probably shouldn't have used your last name, but followers of mine who keep track of my channel and they watch it. I would love it if you and anyone else could give me some feedback. And I just want to know, did I teach you? Do you now understand what the Hannibal Directive is? Do you now understand what the Dahaya Doctrine is? I just need to know if I was able to get that through. So let me know. This is Jody with the Roundhouse Report. I'm signing off. I'm going to upload the video. And you guys just let me know. And again, if I see a smiley face, then I know you've watched it. And that makes me feel really good. That makes me feel like I'm actually doing something, as opposed to just like getting 2 views. So Put the smiley face in there if you watched it this far. Put in any questions, any comments, any ways I can improve, and that would be greatly appreciated. All right, it's Joe D with the Roundhouse Report, and we are out. What's up? Whoa!